hotel systems, of which, right, we'll put a lot of emphasis on the PMS system. So the goal for our class, for today's lecture and for next time, is for us to know all of these most important systems used in hotels. And we'll dedicate a lot of time to talk to the PMS system, because a lot of the adjacent systems interface with it. And I think it would be almost, impossible to manage a hotel properly in the absence of a PMS system, right? So that's very important. So we'll know all these important systems used in hotels. We'll distinguish among the various systems that enhance the management of the guest experience in hotels. We'll look at the PMS systems, and then we'll look at some of the most important players. If we have time, I have another slide deck with the newer entrants in the market. If you want to see those are some really cool companies. I hope you'll end up working with some of them, or you may develop new companies in that line. I think it's quite exciting. So, in order for us to understand properly the technology infrastructure of the hotels, we have to look at the hotel and resort context, right? How do we define this industry? What are some characteristics of this industry? I think it's really important. So first, we should say that, hey, guests spend more hours and money than in other hospitality establishments, right? It's important because it generates revenues, okay? Generates revenues. People care about their purchases, right? It's a higher risk purchase. With every purchase, there's some degree of risk, right? And the risk increases with the amount of the purchase, correct? If you buy a bottle of water that costs $1 at the store, right, and you don't like it, you say, I don't like this water, it's not tasting good. You will drop it. You're not going to go bankrupt or anything, right? Just lose $1. But if you go to a hotel and pay $200 for a room and you don't like it, that's going to result in a bad experience that you will remember. That's very important. The more money you pay for an experience, the more risk you have. So because of that, right, there's the higher risk of failure because of the hours that we spend there, the time that we spend in a hotel, and the amount of money that we spend. It's important also because we bring the loved ones and valuable items to us, right? What do we bring with us? We bring our family, our friends. We stay there. We care about these people, okay? We care about the stuff that we bring with us. It's part of who we are. I travel with my iPad. It's not that I'm going to die without my iPad, but I'm not going to be happy if I lose it or it gets damaged, right? It's true. It's the same for our phones, for our computers. But even more important than this, I have stuff on my iPad or on my computer that I don't want people to see, right? So I want the hotel to take care of this stuff. So for this reason, we have implications for security, safety, for privacy. In hotels, we experience an overnight stay, right? So we are tired, we're vulnerable, and we're unfamiliar with the environment, okay? So we have all these mix of emotions that go in, right? I don't know about you. When I go to a hotel and I open up the door to the hotel, I get the feeling of excitement, right? Hey, this is my room for the night or for 2 nights. I go and the first thing I do is I look out the window and see, do I have a nice view or not? Everybody experiences some kind of emotions when they stay in a hotel. It's the excitement of an event or just the excitement of travel, okay? It's the fact that you are there with friends, with family, to do something cool, right? But you are also tired, you're vulnerable, right? Especially when you travel internationally, you basically trust the hotel that they will take care of you. And they have to employ the right systems, first of all, to create a nice experience, but at the minimum, to take care of you. Very important, okay, also, guests mimic the same behaviors that they have at home, but expect a better experience than what they get at home, right? They go to a hotel, people, housekeeping staff will clean up the room, will make the bed and stuff like that, right? We want it to be like home, but somehow a little bit better, right? So all of these create unique challenges for managing hotels, but also opportunities for people to manage them. Now, because of all these characteristics of hotel industry, we have certain goals for the hotels. So first, because we're a business, we want to have a profit. We want to make profit. We want to make money. And we do that better by understanding the types of guests. For example, business versus leisure, young versus old, young plus old traveling together, right? Groups, right? Groups have a lot in common. They come at the same time, they leave at the same time, they engage in the same activities together, right? What do they do when they are on the property, when they're located on the property? What kind of behaviors they engage in? Do they party like crazy? They bother other people who are just quiet. They come at the same time, they go eat and stuff like that, right? So we would manage the property better if we knew the differences in behavior among all these groups, right? And I just provided some examples of demographic characteristics of the guest, right? Young versus old and things like that, but there can be many types of characteristics, okay? Better business management by understanding the type of management strategy that the hotel is trying to employ. Like what kind of star rating does the hotel have? Would you manage it differently if you were a 2-star hotel versus a 5-star hotel? Probably, right? Probably, because the guests have different expectations because of the price points that you're providing, that you're providing and the amenities that they receive. What are the competitors? Okay, do you understand the competition? Is the direct competition? Now we have another layer because of Airbnb, right? So hoteliers are concerned about that as well. Location of the hotel, traveler flows, social media ratings, and all that stuff, right? So how we strategize around these issues makes a difference in how the hotel will be managed. And now you have a lot of IT that deals with this stuff. So for example, you have all this revenue management tools or yield management that change the rate all the time based on the demand for a specific type of product, right? And they learn, based on the consumer search preferences, they learn how to adapt and so on. And finally, better marketing by understanding how to manage better the capacity, the workforce, the distribution. How do you distribute? You want to distribute ideally through your own app or brand.com website, but sometimes that's not possible. You have to distribute through intermediaries. How consumers respond to marketing, okay? What kind of technology developments do you place in your room or in the lobby that people respond to, right? So that's really critical for the success of the marketing function, okay? So those are some goals for hotels, right? To manage better by knowing a lot. And we have to also recognize the complexity of hotels and resorts, right? Managerial complexity. Multiple departments within a certain amount of finance space, right? Front desk, housekeeping, facilities, IT, security, food and beverage. In small hotels, right? Small hotels, they blend a little bit more, right? It's possible that the general manager is also the housekeeper and is also the security guy, right? The front desk agent is also the IT person, right? There's a lot of blending. In larger hotels, these departments are more clearly delimited. There's a layout complexity, right? We have different types of areas. Guest room only areas, meeting rooms, food service area, parking, spa, retail, right? A lot of the hotels are amazing from a retail point of view. One hotel that really, I remember being there and I really enjoyed the retail, although I can't afford most of the items that they sell. It's the Hilton Anatole in Dallas. That's an absolutely amazing property, right? So they focus a lot on retail. If you go to any hotel, large hotel in Las Vegas, you'll see the retail component, right? It's basically the retail and the entertainment in Las Vegas that shaped the new flavor of the city. It's not so much gambling anymore, right? You know what they say? What happens in Vegas goes on Facebook. That's what they say. No, it's true. That's one of the most successful marketing campaigns of the city of Las Vegas. Right? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's very true. Many hotels are made out of a collection of businesses. We call them profit centers. That's the textbook definition for that, right? So profit centers, you can obtain profits from multiple outlets in that area, right? So that's important to recognize the different revenue flows and the fact that the consumers who stay in a hotel will be tempted to purchase from those profit centers, and you want to offer them the convenience of purchasing freely, right? So you go to a retail outlet in the hotel, there should be a way for your purchase to be added to your room charges, right? And that will encourage purchasing if you offer that to the guest, right? So very cool, right? Hotels are complex. And to manage this complexity, they must use IT. I think it's, the example that I just gave you about the hotel where I worked in the beginning, I don't think they can do that anymore. I mean, they can probably manage the hotel at the minimum, but they're not going to get any strategic advantages. They're not going to do anything spectacular to position themselves, right? So they must use IT, first of all, to optimize tasks, but blend it seamlessly with the human interactions, right? Blend it seamlessly with the human interactions. And that's important because hospitality is unique, right? We're focusing on relationships rather than a one-time transaction for the consumers, right? Although I've been, unfortunately, in many hotels or restaurants that will treat me as if they never want me to come back there, right? And that's not okay. What's okay is to engage in, this kind of customer service that encourages the customer to come back, even though that's less likely. And that's true mostly for, hotels in large cities and so on, less likely for the hotels in tourist cultural destinations and things like that, right? Because in the cultural destination, you visit the cultural attraction once, it's unlikely to change throughout your lifetime, and it's likely that you're not going to go there again. Make sense? Very true. So we want to focus on relationships rather than discrete transactions. We want to provide personalized guest services, okay, that meet and exceed the guest's expectations, right? And we want to pleasantly surprise and wow the guests, right? We want to understand the consumer's expectations. We want to promise them a product that is in line with their expectations, that is realistic, then eventually exceed that when we provide the service to them. Make sense? Any questions so far? Any questions? No questions? That is super cool. And we also have to understand the life cycle of a guest throughout the hotel experience, okay? Everything starts with dreaming, okay? You imagine going to a hotel, either because you have to, if it's a business trip, or because you want to, because it's a cool trip that you'll take for leisure with your friends and family and stuff like that, right? So first we dream. We humans are capable of abstraction. We can imagine ourselves in a specific situation. So we always get to this point where, hey, I want to go to a hotel. I'm wondering, I'm imagining myself in that experience. What will it be like? Okay? What will be the view like? How would the bed will be? What channels do I have on TV? Right? Is it going to be noisy? Is it close to the elevator? Is it close to everything? Will the food taste good and stuff? Will people treat me nicely? Okay? So all of these will be imagined in the dream phase. And then based on the information that we have, that we acquire throughout this process, we go ahead and purchase. And then again, we discuss this, right? There's a temporal gap between the purchase and the experience. In between, we have this anticipation phase. When we think about how the experience is going to be now that we purchased, and I don't know, you probably remember this term. You ever heard of this? Cognitive dissonance is a fancy name for buyer's remorse. Okay? So when you go and see a friend, oh my gosh, you have a nice purse or nice shoes. Do you have any cognitive dissonance with that? It means, do you regret buying it? What do you think they're going to say? No, of course not. I got a great deal on it, right? Why do they say that? I'm not saying that your friends are lying or anything. That's human nature. We all say that. We try to reinforce our decisions by finding thoughts or beliefs that are congruent with the decision, right? I remember at some point I bought this car. It was a Mazda 3. I called it my Zoom Zoom. Right? Zoom Zoom was a nice little car. I loved it. It was so cool. And then I started questioning, well, was it the right choice? I mean, I love it, but still, was it the right choice? And all these thoughts came to my mind. And I started reading about it. Oh, you won this award, and you won that award, and stuff like that. But when I started reading some bad news about it, I said, no, I don't want to read that stuff. I'm going to eliminate all this information that is dissonant with my decision. That's how we humans work, right? We try to defend our decision even after we purchase it. And, for the most part, in the United States, in developed economies, you can work, there's a work around that, right? I mean, you can buy an item, you can keep the receipt, and you'll return it for most of the stuff. In services, you can't really because you're already experienced. And with the hotel products, depending on the type of rate that you buy, you can still cancel, right? In that anticipation phase, if the negative thoughts or incongruent thoughts prevail, and that's going to lead you to, basically you revoking the decision and basically, just stay somewhere else, right? That's what we do. So we anticipate, right? We may encounter more information. We may exchange information with others, right? We may go into, sites where you can learn more and eventually go ahead and experience it. Now that's the most, that's the first, primordial type of data that you'll have. That will go against your expectations, and that's how you judge the experience against the expectations. Eventually, you will remember it, hopefully in a positive way, and eventually that remembering, like the process of remembering what you remember will influence the way you dream about that. If it was a good experience, you'll say, oh my gosh, I want to go back there again. I think it was awesome, right? You will evoke these positive experiences. If it was negative, say, oh, I'll do everything in my power to stay away from it. Not only I'll do that, I'll just tell my friends to stay away from it as well, right? So that's how it usually works in a life cycle. And in hotels, we have a lot of technologies to address how people behave or think or make decisions in each of these phases. I'm not going to go through all these technologies. You have them in your textbooks, but I'll just enumerate a few. So in the dream phase, what is your goal as a property? You want to inform people. You want your property to be attractive for the guests. So you can offer virtual tours, rich media. In the future, this is going to change. You're going to have a lot of virtual reality, right? VR sets. I'll show you videos later with VR sets for Marriott, where they show you the inside of a room in a different destination. That's pretty cool. Blogs, right? Reviews, trip planning tools, search capabilities, shopping tools, right? To increase the size of the basket, right? The purchasing basket, right? Or the shopping cart online, or to make sure that you don't abandon that as a customer, okay? In the purchasing or booking phase, what you want is to convert people and to monetize all the services that you have. And that's something interesting there's something interesting that happens, right? It started in the airline industry. So you probably, I'm sure you remember the time when you would fly from here, for example, to Chicago, and you fly with United, and then you go and take your plane, right? You select a seat at the booking time, you go sit in the plane, and then all the way there, we have a meal and a drink and some snacks and stuff like that. Remember those times? No, you don't remember? Oh my gosh, it seems like so long ago. But I remember those. And that was an entire package of services that was provided to you in a bundled form, correct? And eventually, the airline, just like the hotel and the hospitality industries in general, are working with very low margins. And they had to cut some costs. And what they said was, well, people are kind of inelastic. It means that if you change something in price, the demand for the product is not going to change that much, right? They say, what if we we'll remove these, like the meals and the snacks and stuff like that, right? And they observe that there are people who actually are okay with this stuff, right? So now you see a stratification of consumers. Say, well, people are okay to pay less money to fly from here to Chicago, and they don't really care about the meal and the snack. You can definitely get a much better meal in the airport, right? Or even before you go to the airport, you get quite a cool meal right before you go, right? So people don't care about that stuff. So the airline started to unbundle these services and said, you know what? We'll create this new class of products. It's called what? The class that provides you, the ticket that provides you with absolutely nothing, no privileges whatsoever. Not privileges, no benefits other than just the transportation service whatsoever. Basic economy, remember that? Basic economy, you can't even cancel, right? But that's the cheapest price. And if you're okay, you know that you're certain but you travel between those cities at those dates, and you take the risk of cancellation and stuff like that, that's fine. If you don't care about where you sit in the plane or if you eat in the plane or not, then that's fine. That's the right type of product. So the original experience was unbundled, and of course, even for basic economy travelers, they can still add. They can always buy, hey, you want to upgrade to regular economy or economy plus, we have more space. You can buy a meal, you can do that. You can buy internet, you can buy all these services. But they're provided to you on an optional basis. The hotels started to change that view as well, right? In the past, the business models of the hotels were very forgiving for the guests, correct? You could book a reservation to a hotel, call the hotel, or go online to the brand.com or app, right? You basically make a reservation for next Friday, for example. And you have until next Thursday to change your mind, right? From now until next Thursday, you can go to any site. You go to Kayak, MetaSearch, you go to Expedia, trying to find a better deal, okay? If you find a better deal, you definitely can buy the better deal and then go ahead and cancel the original product that you bought, right? Without any penalty. And that's changing because the hotels thought that it was too forgiving for the guest. Make sense? So now a lot of these are changing. So what you want now, because everything is unbundled and the customers can buy, now you want to offer an opportunity and you want to persuade the consumers to learn about what is available to them in terms of options, but also to buy these options, to have a chance to buy these options. Make sense? Perfect. So booking engines, promotional pop-ups, cross and upsell, customer relationship management, right? Email confirmations, and now you have all these text confirmations, right? They engage you with the text. Right? It's very, very common to do that. In the anticipation phase, you want to excite and sell the property. Personalized push marketing, we talked about this stuff, right? For example, some companies will install beacons. These are some Bluetooth, basically, receivers, and they'll sense when your phone travels within the range. It'll recognize your phone, and it'll send you a message. It'll say, hey, check out the happy hour, or we have a special at the spa, or whatever, right? Driving directions, activity planners. This is quite interesting, right? I haven't yet seen a nice, except for Google Maps maybe, but there's a lack of good concierge apps for destinations where people are unfamiliar with, right? So you go to a destination, it's exciting, you get there, you're a little bit tired, you go to your room, put your bags there, and then you say, now what? I have to go online, find a place where I can eat something, right? I mean, that's normal human nature. So if you design something where the consumers don't have to make a lot of decisions, but help them understand their preferences and help them to make decisions, I think that would be really cool. Enjoying, right? Mobile commerce, check-in kiosks. A lot of these self-service technology comes into play, and you'll see a lot of it embedded in the room, right? In the room and in the lounge, but a lot of it is in the room. Concierge services, itinerary, in-room technologies, safety and security. People put a lot of emphasis now on what to do with their devices when they go to a hotel. We did a study not long ago about the risk of different behaviors that people engage in when they go to hotels. For example, if you leave your computer on, unlocked in the hotel and you leave the room, is it okay? Is it secure? It should be, right? But occasionally you see videos popping up on YouTube of people leaving a computer and somehow the housekeeping stuff gets in and they peek a little bit on the screen, right? I mean, a lot of these computers have an automated go-to-sleep mode and stuff like that. And in the final stage, remembering keeping up with the hotels, right? And they haven't figured out yet, in my opinion, an intelligent way to deal with that stuff, right? They'll say, hey, come back to us. And they should be able to have systems to determine that I'm not likely to come back there again, right? Because it's annoying to go to a property, and it's true with every type of product. You buy it once or very infrequently, especially as a leisure traveler, and they keep sending you emails every week. Hey, this is what's new in Bilbao. I've been to Bilbao once. It was amazing. I don't think I'm going to go there again anytime soon because there are a lot of other places exciting that I want to go, right? But they keep sending me those emails. Of course, I can block them, but until I figure out how I block them completely and not follow me everywhere. That's going to be annoying, right? Guest reviews and blogs, profile updated, loyalty points and statements. That's really important, right? So rewards. That's a very important concept for us. So let's talk a little bit about the property management systems, okay? It's the main hotel system. It's impossible to imagine a hotel without a property management system or some kind of user experience in the absence of this, right? You make a reservation, somehow that reservation will end up in the property management system, and from there someone will look at it and make decisions on how you interact with the hotel based on what's in that reservation. Now, in the past, reservations used to be just very simple, contained a little data, and now they contain a lot of data, okay? Because they're associated with the profiles of the customer, okay? So you as a customer, you are asked to disclose information to the hotel, okay? People disclose their preferences all the time. It's no problem. I can say, hey, I like pizza, okay? Nothing wrong with that. They will learn all that information about me, and hopefully they'll make a decision that'll be aligned with my preferences. Make sense? But there's the privacy barrier, right? So if we look at privacy from this point of view, right? Imagine this. Privacy is like one of those sliders that you move from one side to another of a continuum, and at the end of the continuum we have very public, and at the other end of the continuum we have very private aspects of your life. Privacy makes you establish a boundary between the private and the public aspects of your life, right? And each individual will have a different boundary. So if, for example, my boundary is set up like this, like you see it on the screen, it means that I have a lot of information about me that is public and very little that is private, okay? It's possible to have something like that? Right? I post everything online, I talk to people, I'm very extroverted, right? I don't care too much. And there can be other people for whom this would be different, right? So let's just say something like this, right? So you keep a lot of things private about yourself, while the public information available about you is very limited, right? So there's different ways in dealing with that, and that again is just innate, it's who we are as people. So again, these PMS systems tend to be really comprehensive now. They include a lot more information, and again, to come back to this notion, to kind of conclude the notion of privacy disclosure, right? People generally say they're really, I should say, reactive to privacy. They'll say they're trying to protect their privacy, right? They're protective of that. And they'll say, I'm not going to disclose certain information to the hotel. The hotel has no business knowing a lot of stuff about myself, right? I'm not going to disclose it. And then the hotel comes and says, hey, but I'll give you this benefit and that benefit if you told me more about yourself. And guess what people do? They disclose even more than they thought they would disclose. So we use this PMS system to manage the hotel and resort, and it represents the core system, right? It's nothing more important than this, right? Most of the other systems in the hotel will interface or exchange data with this, right? In the past, that wasn't the case, and now we'll see, just like in the case of POS systems, we see a lot more integration between these systems and the point of all the other systems that are adjacent to a hotel will integrate somehow with the property management system in order to provide this better value to the consumers. Now, this is directly from your textbooks, okay? These are some tasks or groups of tasks that we normally address using a POS system. Reservations is very important. Front desk operations, right? Like Charlie was saying, it's impossible to conceive a front desk without this system. Managing groups, right? It's more efficient to manage groups in an automated system. Guest services, right? It becomes the central nervous system of the entire operation. Now we go into more strategic type of issues like rate management, guest accounting, cashiering, profiling the guest history, right? Loyalty program management and all this stuff, right? So all these guest facing or guest-related applications are really cool. In its most basic form, a PMS must be able to perform 6 basic functions. First, they enable guests to make reservations. Okay? So allow these reservations to go through to see exactly how the inventory will be managed in the future. Enable guests to check in and register when they arrive on the property and check out and pay when they leave. Now, some of this new view, like new technology view where people check in with their mobile phones, right, leaves room for some fraud. So hotels are a little bit reluctant now to fully deploy or to deploy in the absence of any humans and stuff like that. Enable staff to maintain guest facilities, right? So you'll know when a room is available, when it's not available, when it's clean or not clean. Account for guest financial transactions, so know how much money you should receive from each room. You can do that you use that for forecasting. Track guest activities to use in future sales efforts. So that's really important. Again, I cannot really emphasize enough the ethical aspects of learning all this information about the guests, right? You collect it, use it for something that is good, right? Then discard it if you don't use it. There's information that is critical for the success of a service encounter, and there's also information that is just trivial and nice to know. Nice to know is just nice to know. It's not worth taking the risk to store that, to manage that, right? I mean, it's discard it if you don't use it, right? In Europe, they have these new privacy laws where you as a customer can request, make a request to a company that collected your data, and you can tell them, hey, you collected my data and you no longer use it, delete it, and they have to comply with the law and delete it, right? So a lot of the American-based companies, but that engage in global business are adapting to that kind of regulation as well. So probably we'll see something like that coming in the United States. And of course, interface with other systems, and that is increasingly common. That's all I had for today. If you don't have any questions, there's maybe 1 or 2 more slides in the deck about product management systems.